Now, we all know the classic spaghetti meatballs, but I'm going to change that idea up a little bit by putting the meatballs in a salad. It works so well, particularly if you serve it with some rocket salad because it's really, really peppery. So I'm going to start with a sauce, and in here I've got some onions and some capsicum, and I've just been cooking this for about 5 to 10 minutes, so it's really, really soft. I'll add a little bit of salt now, and I'll add the garlic at this stage. I like to add my garlic at the end of the onion cooking stage because I don't want it to burn. So just bruise the garlic and then just finely slice it. Run your knife through it a few times. And then in it goes. Now, this is not a really saucy meatball recipe. This is quite a dry meatball recipe because it's not about the sauce, it's what you put in the meat that makes this really special. So I'm also going to add a little bit of spice, some smoked paprika here, about a teaspoon of that, and just toast that off. And as soon as you start to smell that smoked paprika, which is exactly at this moment, then we can add the tomatoes. Now, I'm using some chopped tomatoes here. You could also use some whole tomatoes. Now I'm also going to add just a small amount of water, and I'm going to place it into the can there, about halfway full, just to clean out the can and get all of that excess tomato, and then that can go in. And that's all the liquid I'm going to add to this. So mix that up. Now you can see I've got a really big pan for this for a small amount of liquid, but this is okay because I need all this space so I can evenly cook the meatballs later. And I'm just going to place that lid on top and just allow that to gently cook just for about 10 minutes, which gives me just enough time to make the meatballs. Now I'm using some lamb mince. This is fatty lamb mince, and I like it to be a little bit fatty so they stay really moist. And we need to add some flavours to this. So a little bit of lemon zest, and I say a little bit, I take that back. Add lots of lemon zest to this because it really is lovely when you bite into these and taste the freshness of it. And some dried oregano here, so a teaspoon of that. And for some cheeses, I'm going to add some ricotta. So I'm going to use half of this mixture here. And ricotta's really great to use because it's going to make the meatballs really light. Also, a nice big handful of freshly grated parmesan. Freshly grate it yourself, it's always better. And some parsley. I am going to chop this fine because I want small speckles of this parsley in the meatballs. If it's too big, then we won't taste it as much either. So just run your knife through it a few times. In that goes. And now one more binding agent, some breadcrumbs. So fresh breadcrumbs, and again, a handful of that is plenty. Good crack of pepper and salt. Perfect. Now I want to give this a really good mix, and then I'm going to form my meatballs. I want them to be around the size of a walnut. Now that the meatballs have been rolled, we can add them to the sauce. Now, there's two schools of thought with meatballs. You can fry them straight away, and I do that sometimes, or you can poach them directly in the sauce. Now, this sauce is thick and rich, so I'm going to place these straight in around this big pan. So these are going to cook for 15 to 20 minutes. Turn them over every 4 to 5 minutes, and then they're cooked. So simple. Now the lid goes on, and you need a lid for this because it's going to steam the top of the meatballs too. But again, just keep turning them. And I've got a grill pan here because I want to serve this with some crusty croutons. So a nice baguette just like this. And I'm going to slice just on an angle some nice thin pieces of bread, and you want 2 to 3 pieces per person. So I'm going to place a little bit of olive oil on each individual piece of bread and then char grill it so it's really nice and toasty and has that smoky flavour too. these lovely little meatballs. They look fantastic. They're completely cooked. I've also turned the heat off just to allow them to cool a little bit because you don't want them to be too hot when they go into the salad. Now, for the salad, I'm keeping it really basic. Some fresh rocket. You can see how fresh this is, so a good handful per person. I like to add some freshly grated Parmesan, just a small amount because there is quite a lot of Parmesan in the meatballs. And I'm going to add some extra parsley, and I'm just going to pick the leaves off, just a little bit of it. All right, now for the dressing, and you really do want to leave the dressing to the last minute. It's as simple as cutting that lemon that we used before in half, just a squeeze, and some good quality extra virgin olive oil, a small amount, and a small amount of salt. I'm not adding any pepper, it's peppery enough. And then I'm just going to toss this very lightly with my hands. And now I'm going to place this in the centre of a plate. Now for the bread, and I'm just going to place these little croutons around the bowl because this is where the meatballs are going to sit. And I'm just going to bring this closer to my pan here. We're going to add the meatballs and a little bit of sauce to each crouton. One over here. That sauce smells so good. It's great to have a variety of different red sauces. This one with a combination of the smoked paprika and the capsicum, fantastic. Gives it a little bit of a Spanish twist here. Now that's what I call a hearty salad, a delicious salad, and it's a great alternative to a heavier spaghetti meatballs.